Okay, we have here our next lesson, the solution of system of linear equation using the Gauss-Jordan elimination method. So before we solve problems using the Gauss-Jordan elimination, we're going to look first how to convert a system of equation into a matrix form. We have here an equation that is ax is equal to b. So a here is our coefficient of matrix. We have here the x. This is the unknown variable. And the b is our column matrix constant. So uh, it is often convenient to represent a system of linear equation as a matrix equation or even as a single matrix. So let's take a look at here our sample. So our system of linear equation is given as 2x plus 3y is equal to negative 8 and negative x plus 5y is equal to 1. So if we convert this into a matrix, we will be getting this form. So this one is our A. This is our coefficient of the system of equation. This is our x, our variables or our unknown. And the B is this. This is our constant of uh, equation. So this is the form of our linear equation into a uh, matrix form. So ito yung magiging form natin. So this will be our coefficient. Meron tayong unknown and we also have here the constant. Yan. So for the Gauss-Jordan elimination, this is actually a direct method in solving system of linear equation. So Gauss-Jordan elimination work on the augmented matrix coefficient matrix together with the constant. And in Gauss-Jordan elimination, we need to reduce our matrix into row echelon form. And when we say row echelon form, that is the elements of the diagonal is equal to 1, and if possible, all elements above and below the diagonals elements must be 0. Okay, so for the Gauss-Jordan elimination, we can interchange rows. We can also multiply a row by a non-zero number, and we can add a number times the element of one row to the corresponding element of another row. So to better understand this, let's take a look at our example. So we have here our example 1. So in our example 1, we need to find the values of x and y. So we have here the given linear equation that is equal to 2x plus 5y that equal to 21 and x plus 2y equal to 8. So for our solution, the first thing we need to do is we need to convert this, our equation, into augmented matrix. So we need to write the coefficient. So that is, so let's say we have the coefficient of our first equation is 2. And then we have 5. And to separate our right side to our left side, our coefficient, we're gonna need to draw a vertical line. So let's draw a vertical line and to separate the left coefficient doon sa ating constant. and that is 21. So next, our x here is 1, we have 2, and we have 8. So, eto na yung magiging augmented matrix natin. Okay. To solve our problem, we need to make the elements of the diagonal equation to 1 to make this element, yung elements above and below our diagonal into 0. So, by multiplying our row to a number or dividing any rows to a number. So, yan. So, in here, if we solve this equation, this is our coefficient. And whatever number we see or we solve here will be now the value of our variable, which is x and the y. So whatever values we see or we solve here mamaya after our solution, that is now the value of x and y. Okay, so we need to make this number 0, and we need to make this 2 and 2 1. So for our solution, the first thing we're gonna do is to make the element, our element here, equal to 1. So if we have here our matrix, we're going to make this 1. That's the first thing we're gonna do. And to make this element equal to 1, we need to divide 2 here at our row 1. So if we divide 2 sa ating row 1, so row 1 over 2, our resulting equation or our resulting matrix will be equal to, that is 2 divided by 2, that is row 1. So that is 2 divided by 2, that is 1. 5 divided by 2, that is 5 over 2. And then we have 21 over 2. So yung second row natin, we just have to copy our elements. So that will be now our resulting matrix. Now, the next thing to do is to make this element here equal to 0. Row 2, we need to subtract our row 1. So, if we subtract row 1 in our row 2, our resulting element here in our row 2 will become, we just have to copy our element at our row 1. And the resulting element here, if we subtract row 2 minus row 1, that will become 0. 2 minus 5 over 2 is equal to negative 1/2. And we have 8. We have 8 minus 21 over 2, that will result to negative 5 over 2. So that will become now our matrix. Okay. Now, let's make this element into 1 so that our diagonal element will become 1. So let's make this element, yung negative 1/2, into 1. And to make that, we need to multiply row 2 into negative 2. So we need to multiply this into negative 2 so that this element will result to a value of 1. So, so in our row 2, we need to multiply negative 2. Okay. So if we multiply negative 2 in our row 2, our resulting matrix will become now equal to, so wag nyong pakialaman yung ating row 1, yung row 2 lang yung ano natin, that is 5 over 2 and that is 21 over 2. So in our row 2 times negative 2. So if we multiply 0 times negative 2, that is 0. If we multiply negative 1 half into negative 2, that would result to 1. And negative 5 over 2 times negative 2, that is 5. So we have 0, 1, and we have 5. Okay, malapit na tayo sa row echelon. Okay, so we solve this. Ginawa nating 1. We solve the element here. Ginawa nating 0. Tapos, ginawa nating 1 ito. Next thing to do is we need to make this 0 para maging row echelon tayo. So, our diagonal is 1 and yung element sa ating baba and taas ng ating diagonal element should be 0. So, to make this 5 over 2 to 0, we need to subtract. Okay. So our equation there is that in our row 1, so here, in our row 1, that is equal to row 1 minus 5 over 2 times our row 2. Okay. So yung ginawa ko dito, if I multiply my row 2 into negative 5 over 2, tapos sinubtract ko siya dito sa aking row 1, magiging 0 itong value dito, yung element dyan. So if we make that, our resulting matrix will now become 1, 0, 0, 1, and then negative 2, and then 5. Yan. So that is my resulting matrix. So hanggang dyan na lang tayo kasi nagawa na natin yung diagonal natin 1 and the upper and lower element dito sa ating diagonal is equal to 0. And whatever we see here, that will become now our value for x and y. So our x, yung unang kinuha na natin dito, this would be our x, that will be our y, and that this will be the result of the x and y. So our answer now here is yung ating x, that is equal to 2, negative 2, and yung y natin, that is equal to 5. So our x is equal to negative 2 and y is equal to 5. So that is the values of x and y in our linear equation using Gauss-Jordan elimination. Okay, so we have here another example, problem number 2. So we have to find the values of x, y, and z using the Gauss-Jordan elimination in this given matrix. So first, to solve this problem, we need to write its equivalent augmented matrix, that is yung x variable natin, that is 2. Yung y, negative 1. Yung z, that is 2. A vertical line to separate our coefficient doon sa ating constant. And then for our second row, x, y, 1. Y, negative 2. Yung z natin is 1 and the constant of 2. And then our third row, yung x natin is 3. Yung y natin negative 2. Yung z natin is 2 and our constant equal to 1. So, we're going to make this diagonal equal to 1 and our lower element doon sa ating diagonal equal to 0, yung tatlong yan, and yung sa upper naman equal to 0. So, we're gonna reduce this matrix into row echelon form. And whatever values here na masosolve natin, yun na yung value natin ng x, y, and z. So, pag tinitignan natin yung ating coefficients dito, to make the first element sa first row and first column natin into 1, we can interchange our row 1 and row 2. So, kasi sabi nga natin, yung Gauss Jordan, we can interchange rows. So, we can interchange row 2 into row 1 para maging yung element natin sa row 1 and row 1 column 1 is 1. So, yun yung unang gagawin natin because yung unang gagawin natin, we have to make this 1, tapos we have to make this 0, then next we have to make this 1, and then we have to make this 2, 0, and then we have to make the third diagonal 1, and we have to make this 2 here 0. So, para maging 1 itong column element natin dito sa row 1, column 1, we have to interchange row 2 into row 1. So, the resulting matrix, if we interchange that, will now become, so we have here 1, negative 2, 1, and 2. 2, negative 1, 2, 1. And we have 3, negative 2, 2, and 1. So, yan yung magiging result niya. So, we have, unang ginawa natin, we interchange row 1 and row 2. So, this would now be the result. So, next, we make this element 1. Next is we have to make this 2 element here equal to 0. And to do that, we need to make an equation for us to multiply here in our row 2 and row 3 na yung result niya is magiging 0 dito sa dalawang element. And for that, we have for row 2, to make our element here 0, we need to multiply negative 2 doon sa ating row 1, then add our element doon sa ating row 2. And for our row 3, we need to multiply negative 3 doon sa ating row 1 and add our element doon sa row 3. So, if we evaluate this, our equation, our resulting matrix will now be equal to, so, for row 1, parehas pa rin yung elements niya. Yan. So, sa row 2, ito na yung gagawin natin dito sa elements ng row 2. We need to add row 2 plus yung negative 2 times row 1. So, for row 2, negative 2 times yung 1, yung sa row 1 natin. So, ito. Yung negative 2 times yung row 1. So, pag sa element dito, negative 2 times yung row 1 niya is 1. That is equal to negative 2. Then, you add yung row 2 niya. You add this 2. So, that would result to 0. The next, negative 2 times yung row 1 dito is negative 2. So, negative 2 times negative 2 plus yung element sa row 2 niya is negative 1. That will result to a value of 3. And then, yung sa third element natin sa row 2, we have negative 2 times yung row 1 natin is 1 plus yung row 2 that is 2. That will result to a value of 0. And for our constant, negative 2 times 2, yung row 1 natin, that is 2, plus yung row 2 natin, that is 1, this will become negative 1. Wait, mali. Negative 3. Okay, yan. And then for our row 3, yung element natin dito, negative 3 times yung row 1 natin, which is 1, plus yung row 3 natin, which is 3. And then yung element natin dito, negative 3 times the row 1 plus yung row 3 natin. And then yung element dito, negative 3 times yung element natin dito sa row 1 natin plus yung element dito sa row 3 natin. And then yung variable dito, negative 3 times yung element natin sa row 1 plus yung element natin dito sa row 3. So, our resulting values there is equal to 0, 4, negative 1, and negative 5. So, yan yung magiging resultant matrix natin. Okay, naging 0 na yung ito. Next, we need to make the second diagonal natin na 1. So, gawin natin itong 1. So, to make this 1, we need to multiply an equation. We need to formulate an equation dito sa ating row 2 para maging 1 yung ating diagonal dyan. So, for the row 2, so para maging 1 yung 3 natin, i-divide natin yung row 2 natin ng 3. So, we need to divide 3 doon sa row 2 natin. So, yung magiging resulting matrix natin dyan, pag dinivide natin ng 3 yung ating row 2, so yung row 1 and 3, parehas pa rin siya. Okay, so yung row 2 yung i-ano natin dito. So, row 2 over 3, 0 over 3, 0, 3 over 3, 1, 0 over 3, 0, and negative 3 over 3, that is negative 1. So, yan yung ating resultant matrix. Okay, nagawa na natin itong 1, nagawa na natin itong 0, nagawa na natin itong 1. Next, gawin natin itong element, itong negative 2 and 4 na 0. So, ito yung next natin. So, para maging 0 yung negative 2 at 4 natin, we need to make, again, an equation. So, for row 1. So, for row 1, to make negative 2 into 0, we need row 1 plus our row 2 times 2. And for our row 3, para maging 0 yung 4 natin, row 3 plus row 2 times negative 4. So, yan. So, if we evaluate our row 1 and row 3, our resulting matrix now will become yung row 1 natin, 1 plus row 2 times 2, that is 0. So, 1 pa rin ito, negative 2 plus yung row 2 natin, 1 times 2, 0. And then yung 1 plus 0 times 2, that is 1. And then for here, row 3 plus yung row 2 natin times negative 4, 0 pa rin siya. And then we have here row 3, that is 4 plus 1 times negative 4, that is 0. And then we have here negative 1 plus 0 times negative 4, negative 1. And then we have here the negative 5 plus our row 2 is negative 1 times negative 4. Our resulting here is negative 1. So our matrix now is equal to, we have okay, that would now be our resulting matrix. So, nagawa na natin itong 1, 1, 0, 0, 0, 0. Gawin naman natin itong 1, yung last diagonal natin. And to make this 1, we just have to divide negative 1 here, di ba? Sa ating row 3. So, in our row 3, para maging 0 yung negative 1 natin, row 3 over negative 1. So, if we evaluate our row 3, yung resulting matrix natin dyan is equal to 1, 0, 1, 0. We have 0, 1, 0, negative 1. We have 0, 0, 1, and negative 1. Okay. So, isa na lang yung gagawin nating 0, which is this element. So, gawin natin itong 0 para maging row echelon form yung ating matrix. And to do that, we have to evaluate yung row 1 natin by this equation. So, yung row 1 natin, i-add natin siya sa product ng row 3 times negative 1. So, our resulting equation there would now become, resulting matrix would now become 1, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, 0, 1. So, we have negative 1, and 1. So, yan. So, dito, yung row 1 natin, i-evaluate natin using this equation. Yung row 2 and row 3 natin, parehas pa rin yung value niya. So, yung row 1 lang yung i-evaluate natin using this equation. So, row 1 plus row 3 times negative 1 dito sa row 1 natin, this will now be our resulting value. So, yung magiging values natin for x and y, since nagawa na natin yung matrix natin into row echelon wherein our diagonal is 1 and the elements below and above our diagonal is 0. Yan. So we can now get our value for x, y, and z. So whatever our values here will now be our x, y, and z. Remember, in our example here, our first element is x, our second element is y, and our third element is z. So dito, yung first element natin na merong 1, that is x. Yung second element natin na may 1, that is y. So that is equal to negative 1. And yung third element natin which na merong 1, which is the z, this will now be our z. So our x is equal to negative 1. our y is equal to -1 and our z is equal to 1. So this would now be our values for x, y, and z in our given linear equation using our Gauss-Jordan elimination. Row echelon form, which is the diagonal should be 1 and the elements below our diagonal is 0 and elements above our diagonal is 0. So, first, meron tayong 1 dito and then we need to make this -2 and -3 equal to 0. And this equation, pag ito yung ginamit nating equation, mako-convert natin itong -2 and -3 ng 0. Of course, this equation applies to the whole row 2 and this equation applies to the whole row 3. So, ito yung magiging resultant matrix natin. Nagawa natin siyang 0. And then, next, gagawin natin itong 7 na equal to 1. So, para maging 1, we need to divide row 2 over, we need to divide 7 doon sa ating row 2. This applies dito sa ating buong row 2. So, if we divide 7 sa row 2 natin, ito yung magiging resultant matrix natin. Okay, meron na tayong 1. And then, we need to make this 2 and 10 equal to 0. So, to make that, we will be using this equation dito sa buong row 1 and this equation dito sa buong row 3. So, if we apply this equation, ang magiging resultant matrix natin is, ito na siya. So, pag tinitingnan natin yung resultant matrix natin, meron tayo dito sa column 1, 1, 0, 0. Yung column 2, 0, 1, 0. Okay siya. And then, pagdating natin dito sa column 3, magiging 8, 6, and then 0. So, ang sabi natin sa row echelon form, dapat itong element dito sa row 3, column 3, dapat equal siya sa 1. Pero yung lumabas, 0. So, hindi tayo makaka-create ng row echelon form dito kasi nga, sabi natin, yung diagonal dapat natin dito is equal to 1. Pero yung lumabas, 0. So, pag ganyan yung solution ninyo, the system is inconsistent. Therefore, wala tayong solution dito sa problem. So, wala tayong solution dito sa given problem pag inconsistent yung system natin. So, ito yung magiging resultant matrix natin, inconsistent siya. So, yung sagot natin dito sa problem number 3 is no solution. Wala tayong solution dito.